morning, students. I'm Mr. Wilson. We met yesterday. Okay, as a follow-up from yesterday, we're going to learn something new today. However, I want to review a couple of things you will need for today. As you remember yesterday, we learned that this is known as a staff. And what is a staff? Staff is made up of 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to repeat that again. So, and you must always remember you count from the bottom up, and I have it numbered. So a staff is made up of 5 lines and 4 spaces. This is line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5. This is space 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you do it in reverse order, you'll have it all mixed up and you'll have all incorrect information. So you must always remember to go from the bottom up in terms of your lines and spaces. Okay, now today's lesson is on the treble clef, which is also known as the G clef. This is the symbol for the treble clef. Okay, and it is also known as a G clef because if you look down here, where this part, let me show you up here first. If you trace this like this part encircles this second line, which I have highlighted in red. And that is known as the G line. So it is also known as the G clef. So it's the treble or G clef. So if I ask you in a quiz or whatever type of formatting I use, if I ask you what's another name for the G clef, you should be able to say what? Yes, treble clef, and vice versa. Another name for the treble clef is the G clef. Okay, now we can move to the next thing. Okay, let's break it down. We're going to learn about the lines first. These are your lines. This is what we call an acronym. This is the phrase. So you have E, G, B, D, and F. So from what I just reviewed with you, this is line 1. And the letter name for it is E. The second line is G. The third line is B. The fourth line is D. And the fifth line is F. The phrase for it is every good boy does fine. Memorize the acronym EGBDF. And it stands for what? Let's say it together. Okay, let's go. Every good boy does fine. Very good. Okay, now we're going to go to the second part of the staff. The 4 spaces. And it's an easy one because it spells the word face. F is the first space. Second space is A. Third space is C. The fourth space is E. This is always going to be the case. When you see the first space is always going to be an F or some kind of F. As you learn, we will add more things. But for right now, on a fundamental level, what you see is what you need to memorize. I need you to commit this to memory. And you will find that you will be able to progress with your music a lot faster. So in music, it involves a lot of memorization. So when you see a musician performing and playing, they don't have music in front of them. That's because they learn from an early stage to memorize a lot of the things that they do. Sometimes we have to look at the music and read it and play what's in front of us. But generally speaking, commit things to memory. So one last time before we move to the next thing. Okay, so we know these are the lines. Every good boy does fine. Memorize this. So if I ever ask you, let's say for a practical question I could ask is, what's the third line on a treble clef? All you have to do is say, okay, to yourself, every good boy. And you know the answer is B. Every good boy. And you can do that for each line as well as the spaces. So if I ask you what's the top space or the fourth space, you can say to yourself, F-A-C-E. Okay, the answer is E, and that's how you figure it out. Okay, so that's the fundamentals of it. Okay, now we're gonna move to the next thing so that we can improve and learn how to utilize the lines and spaces. So once you learn these fundamentals and once you get an instrument in your hands and you learn to play an instrument, this is gonna be vital to you being able to progress at a normal pace. If you're stuck, so to say, and you can't remember that this second line is a G, you're gonna have problems with your music. So I advise you to go through the material, commit it to memory. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the next stage. This will help enable you to remember both your lines and spaces. We're going to learn how to spell words through music. So now, if you remember last time we met, I mentioned to you that music is an awesome art form. And it can connect with all subjects, everything in life, actually. Now, this is going to be the first example of how we can take music, still be in music class, but at the same time, reinforce the learning process through spelling, or if you want to say language arts. Okay, so here we go. Now, this is my sample right here. I spelled for you the word egg. The bottom line is E. Always go back and review your lines as well as your spaces while you do this exercise. Okay, this is E. The second line is G. So I have E, G, G. That spells the word egg. So now we're crossing across the curriculum. We're doing music, but now we're spelling as well. So that's the word egg. Okay, so these are some words that we're going to learn to spell. But before we do that, I also want to explain the next thing. Okay, instruments that read in a treble clef or the G clef. I'm only going to mention band instruments, like in New Orleans, for example. Some schools use what they call a bell lyre. You can play on it. And they have a holster you could hold it on and they march down the street. I don't see many bands using it anymore, but I'll mention it, a bell lyre. Okay, the main instruments, you have the flute, clarinet. I'm just gonna say saxophones. These are woodwinds. You have the trumpet, which is a brass instrument. A marching French horn, which is called a mellophone. I'm gonna put one more instrument down, a baritone. And lots of times, especially in New Orleans, you go different places that do it a lot different. But here, we start off teaching students to read music in a treble clef for the baritones. Now, if you ask the question why, let's just say I don't have very many good trumpet players, but I have several baritone players that can play very well. If I need to change over, I can ask one of the baritone players if they're interested in playing the trumpet, and that'll strengthen that trumpet section, or vice versa. They read the same notes, same fingerings, everything. The only difference is the size of the mouthpiece and the size of the instrument. But it's advantageous if you could read the baritone in both the treble clef, and that's another lesson when we get to the bass clef. But we're not dealing with the bass clef today. But these are the instruments that we're primarily talking about for a marching band. Okay, the flute, clarinet, saxophones, trumpet, mellophone, and the baritones. Okay, so what we need to do is practice spelling some of the words. Okay, the first word we're going to spell is ace. Okay, so the first thing, let me show you also. When you draw the treble clef, you draw a long J like that. curve it, the tail. Do that much. Okay, I'm gonna move around and see what you're doing. Okay, that's good over there. Very good. Keep working. Okay, now, the next part, come here. You get to that fourth line, you cross it, bring it out, and then you loop it around, and you encircle that line that I talked about in the beginning. This is the G line. And you remember, we said this is the treble clef, this symbol, but we also said it's known as the G clef, and now you know why. Because this little loop part encircles that second line. I'm trying to highlight it for you. Just like I did here in advance. When you came in the room, you saw this. Now you understand what this is for, why I highlighted it here as well as here. Okay, so the first word is ace. So what you do is look at your notes. I have it on a board to help you. Okay, so you're spelling the word ace. Okay, where do you see an A at on here? There's only one spot, and it's on the second space. Okay, do not worry about the symbol. You can think of it as an oval-shaped symbol if you like. We're not worrying about that yet. That comes later, identifying this symbol. But for now, we're using that. Okay, once you put that, that's A. You spell it out. The next letter is C. Once again, it's here. Third space. 1, 2, third space, C. Okay, now I'm going to show you something else that people always ask me about. If you notice, you have an E on the bottom line for the lines, but you also have an E located on the fourth space. So students always ask me, so I'm just gonna beat you to the punch and answer it in advance, so you'll know. It does not matter which one you use, as long as it's located either on that top space or the bottom line. E is an E. And the exercise is to help enable you to learn your lines and spaces. That's the whole mindset of this activity. So it does not matter if you use this E or that one. I'm just gonna decide to use this one. Okay, and if you notice on my example, there's only one choice for G, and I use it twice for right now. But when we progress and you learn more, you can find that there's other locations that we can use G and all of the other notes as well. Okay, so as a little quick review, we learned that this symbol is called a treble clef or a G clef. And we learned that it's this little part of the treble clef encircles this second line, which is the G line, so it's also known as the G clef. Okay, acronym EGBEF. Every good boy does fine. That's the phrase. FACE is unique because this is the word that it spells, but it's also the same here. So you should have no problem memorizing those. Okay. And now we're on spelling words. We have a few more to do. Gonna erase that one. Okay, the next one is dad. You look on here, you only have a D located in one place, and it's on the line, fourth line. Okay, so that's D. Okay, A, find A. You only have one A. None over here. You have one A on the second space. So here it is. And you go back to D for dad. Spell it completely. And you label it, line it up with the symbol so you could clearly see what you're doing. And anyone looking at it will say, okay, that's D, that's A, and you have another D. So you're learning to spell words through music. And that makes music awesome. I'm going to show you day by day why music is awesome. And we're gonna go to math probably when we finish learning. We have to learn another clef first, and then we'll learn how mathematical music is. And we're gonna keep going. History, we'll cover every subject that you're learning about, just to show you how music connects with all things. Okay, that's dad. The next one is deaf. I'm gonna leave my D up there. Okay, D-E-A-F. Okay, you have choices. You have an E here, and you have an E here. Let's just make it different and do the E here this time. That's your D, E. Okay, you have one A, and that's right down the second space. A. And then F. Let's go up here for a change. You have F up here, and you also have F here. I just decided to use the F on the top line. That's deaf. D-E-A-F. Okay. Okay, let me work a little bit faster. The next one is bead. Where is B? Okay, somebody said it's on the third line. B. Where's E? You have two choices, right? Okay, we're gonna use the full space, someone said. Okay, we'll do E, and then we have A and D. A is here, and we have D here. Label it, so it makes more sense to anyone looking at it. We spelled the word bead. We have one more word to spell, and the rest of the words I will give you will be for homework. Okay, we have B-E-E, bead. Okay, so these words, I'm going to give these words to you. I'd like you to do these for homework. This will, once again, if you're asking why should I do these exercises will enable you to learn your lines and spaces at a faster rate. It'll reinforce the learning process. Next word is going to be bed. Okay, as we did these words already, part of the assessment process was to see if you could keep up and participate with me, and all of you did. So I want to congratulate you on that. Now, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions in a few minutes. I'm going to give you one more word, and if you want to be creative and think, you can create more words. And one thing I should have mentioned in the beginning and I did not, let me introduce it now. In music, we only use the first 7 letters of the alphabet. That's the first thing I should have said. So I apologize, that's my fault. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are the letters of the alphabet that we utilize in music. Okay, so the last word is going to be L. Do those for homework. Let me show you one more time how to draw the treble clef. Draw a long J, like so. Come here. Okay. Make sure you have your notes right next to you when you work on spelling these words, and you should not have any difficulty whatsoever while doing it. Okay, Just a couple of things I want to close out with, assessment purposes. Okay, so if I ask you to name the lines and spaces for the treble clef. Okay, so if I ask you first to do the lines, you're going to say what? Okay, very good. E, yes, G, very good. B, D, and F. Okay, and the spaces? Yes, F, very good. A, C, and E. Okay, so that covers that. Okay, we talked about instruments. It's not on the board. Who remembers the first one? Okay, somebody said, very good, flute. Okay, yes, clarinet, that's good. We said the saxophones, very good. We also said what else? We had some brass instruments. Trumpet, that's it. We said the baritone, used in the treble clef. Okay, very good. And we forgot one. What's the other one? The marching French horn, which is called a mellophone. Excellent, very good. Okay, the next thing. Okay, we did a little bit of the spelling already. This is going to be your homework, and that's another form of assessment to see how well you learned the lesson. Okay, I'm going to ask you 3 questions now. Okay, the letter name of the third line of the treble clef or G clef is. So what is the letter name? Now if I said the letter name is F, that true or false? We're doing true or false. Okay, the third line is C. Is that true or false? We know that that is false because the third line is what? B. So that's false. Okay, the next thing. The first space of the treble clef or the G clef is F. The first space, which is here, is F. Is that true or false? Okay, very good. Somebody said it. It's F. So that's true. And the last one, the fifth line of the treble clef or G clef is F. And yes, it is. So the answer is true. So very good. Excellent. And students, you did a great job. You were very attentive. And we will continue the process of learning about another clef sign on tomorrow. Okay, make sure you have everything you need. It's time to get ready to go. I'll collect this first thing in the morning. When I'm collecting the do-nows you'll be passing this in. I'll have another do-now for you to do in the morning on something we learned today. So if you learned everything today, I'm going to ask you something tomorrow as a do-now. When you first come in the classroom, getting situated. While I'm doing attendance, you'll be doing that. Okay, so enjoy the rest of your day, students. Thank you very much. I'll see you on tomorrow.